Hi, everyone. My name is Omar Kashad. I'm one of the adult services librarians here at the Carroll Stream Public Library. And today's Grow with Google session is going to be about about how to get your business its own Google business profile. Now, if you're not sure what a Google business profile is, don't worry about that. We're going to cover that as well. But basically, the Google business profile is the small profile you see when you do a Google search for a company, and that you then are able to then see like that little sidebar there. We'll see an example of this in just a moment. Is let's say like what's the name of the company, who's some photos of it, what are their hours, and things along those lines. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera so you can see more of the screen, and we'll just go ahead and get going. So question, of course, is what is a Google business profile? Well, I just explained what it was, but just to repeat, a business profile is a free way to help your business information appear correctly on Google search and maps. Now, this tool used to be called Google My Business, and I think I do remember when it was still called that. But basically, a verified business profile allows you to update your address, your phone number, website, hour of operations, and a lot more. So the thing you got to know though is that if you don't have your Google business profile, Google will then go ahead and then they'll just usually just create one automatically, but then you have no control over that profile unless you claim it for yourself. The reason why this matters is because if you didn't know this, for starters, is that with the Google business profile is that there have been examples, and this is actually a true story. I'm not making this up, where like I think it was like Delta or one of the major airlines. What happened was is that they didn't have any control over their Google business profile, I think is what it was. And so what happened was is that people were then Googling, because these were people who were on the at the airport, and they were waiting in line for customer service, and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to call Delta. I think it was Delta. I could be wrong, but it was some major airline. They were going to call the airline's customer service line, and they were going to be like, I'm just going to get in touch with them that way. I don't have to wait in line here at the airport. Well, what happened was is that some bad actor had gotten control of their Google business profile, and what they did was they changed the phone number. And so when they changed the phone number, that meant that all these people who were calling this major airline, again, which may or may not have been Delta, I don't know that it was them, but it was somebody. What happened was is that they were calling this bogus phone number, and they were getting scammed because the airline didn't have proper control over their Google business profile, because people rely on that. They're like, it's Google, this is the result, it has to be this answer. Well, it wasn't this answer. So this is going to show you how to claim a Google business profile, which again is free, and also how to update it. And if there's time at the end, I won't, this won't be part of the recording, but I should be able to show off the library's Google business profile because we do have one. So moving on to the next slide. Give me a second here. So there's two types of eligible businesses that can get a Google business profile. I'll explain one that isn't eligible in just a moment. But basically, business profiles are available for businesses with physical locations that customers can visit, like a brick and mortar storefront, or businesses with a local service area, like a flower delivery service or a mobile dog grooming business. In other words, they don't come to you, but you go to them. The general rule is that a business must make in-person contact with customers during stated hours. Some business categories are also ineligible for a business profile, and one of these, of course, is online only businesses. So if your business only sells to people online, or if you only sell on eBay, or you only sell on Etsy, or you only sell off of Amazon, if you're e-commerce only, you're not eligible for a Google business profile. But you could always, of course, get your own website, but that's a different topic. The other things would be like rental or for sale properties, such as vacation home, model homes, or even vacant apartments. But that doesn't mean, though, that your apartment complex cannot be listed on Google business profile. For example, the sales or the leasing offices are eligible for a Google business profile. So if you have your leasing office, of course, people go to that in order to get a lease on the apartment. Well, that is eligible for a Google business profile. Now, if for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you're probably in the business, you're probably in the process of getting your business, ready to go. You probably, you filed the paperwork. I hope you trademarked your business name, or if not that, at least if you're gonna have your own website, you've already claimed your website's domain. This is a little bit of website stuff. You really want to claim your domain before you register your business, because if you don't, someone's going to steal your domain and try and sell it to you because they know that your business something unique, and that's if that domain isn't already registered. But again, I talked about it in a totally different presentation. But what this though is if your business hasn't opened yet, you can create a business profile and set a future opening date. Again, this is part of the process of your being an entrepreneur. So yeah, so again, so really the big things are for getting a Google Business Profile, as we can see here on the screen, is that you need a published address. Either your location is either a place where people come to you in a brick and mortar situation, or you have a service area where you go to them. Now you're probably saying, well, does that mean my address has to be visible if I'm a service area? Like I work out of my home, but I do visit people for as part of my job to do service area. The good news is that your home address does not necessarily need to be published publicly if you are doing a service area out of your own home. Just to give a sample, this is a sample company. I really didn't do my research to see if they're real or not. I think they are, but this is just a sample idea of a anatomy of a Google Business Profile. So going from the top, we of course see the name of the company, which in this case is called Detroit Voltage. Below, we can see that they're starred reviews. They're 4.7 stars. They've had 45 reviews. What are they? Well, it's an electrician company in Detroit, Michigan. They are currently open because it's taking that from the hours, which we'll get to a little bit later. Of course, we can see a photo. You could also add a video to your profile as well. Those are some quick links. For example, the phone number, the direction on Google Maps, share, and then website. Google can often, like I said before, they can crawl the internet because that's what they do so well. And they could possibly pull this information if you have your own website, but it's good to have your own profile so you can put this information directly. So for example, for those of you who's used a Google Business Profile before, like I have, on your smartphone, if you tap call, it'll automatically populate in the phone number of the place you're trying to call to. Location is just being pulled from Google Maps. And then, of course, you got their hours, which in case that's a collapsed window, but you can include your hours. Of course, there is the phone number too, if you want to manually type it in, or manually type it in, manually input it into your phone if you want to. I sometimes do that, but usually I just hit the call button. So then when a searcher discovers your business profile, they'll see business information, as we can see here. And a business profile can, of course, include, like I said, photos, videos, customer reviews, and more. So business profiles appear on Google search. If we've ever used Google before, if we've ever Googled a business, we've probably seen this. If you look over on the right-hand side, you can see where that Google business profile shows up. Now, as it says, though, over 18 million Americans use Google's free tools to receive phone calls, booking reviews, requests for directions, or other direct connections to their customers. And as someone who has seen the behind the scenes of the library's, Google business profile analytics, I can attest to this. We've gotten a lot of views of our Google business profile. We've gotten a lot of phone calls through the Google business profile and things along those lines. And maybe after I'm done with the major part of the presentation, I can then show that in action. But creating a business profile allows you to edit the information Google displays. Because again, if you have a Google business profile, but you didn't make it, it's because Google trawled the internet to find information on your company, and they made the profile themselves. But if you create your own business profile, you can then edit that information so your business details are up to date and consistent across search and maps. Like if you have a closing, or if your hours change, or if your phone number changes, or whatever. Now, creating a business profile won't guarantee, though, that your business will appear in the search results, but it can help. How do you get your business to appear higher in the search results is something called search engine optimization. And I don't have time to talk about that now, but that's called SEO. And there are whole companies that are whole geared towards SEO to help your company appear in the top results. Also, doing this is not the same as doing Google Ads for your business, which again, could be a whole totally different presentation about how to do Google Ads. But again, this is free, and it's a good tool because I think people have learned to expect there to be a profile if they're looking up a business. If there's no profile, then that might be something where they're like, I need quick access to information on this company, and now I don't see it because there's no profile, or the profile is not up to date. But anyway, but this also gets you not just on Google business profile, but if you have a location where customers come to you, you can also get put onto Google Maps. And it says that every month in 2023, Google helped drive more than 2 billion free direct connections for American businesses. I use Google Maps on my phone to go places. Not often, but I do. And that's because business with storefronts open to customers, and those that meet with customers in local service areas can appear on Google Maps. Now, as you can see on this slide, we can see how the business appears on Google Maps, pulling their information again from their business profile. The phone number is there, the hours are there, their website is there, more and more and more on and so forth. Now, so there are many signals, though, that Google uses to determine which results to show. This is going back to the sort of the more SEO stuff, including relevancy, distance, and prominence. This is, for example, if you go on Google and you're like, well, I need to find companies near me that do a certain task. For example, I don't mind sharing this story. I broke my glasses last week. I went into Google Maps. I typed in glasses repair companies near me, and I found a place that was close, that was in the area. They were up in Elgin, and I went to them right away, and they were able to fix my glasses. Well, that's because Google was using results such as relative relevancy, distance, and prominence to display these results. Relevancy is how well a business profile matches a search. If your business profile is detailed and up to date, and this company's was that I went to, was a mom and pop place, but anyway, it was detailed and up to date. They had their own website. Google was more likely to show it up for relevant searches. Now, distance is again what it sounds like. How close is the business to the searcher, because it's running off of what's called your IP address or else your geolocation, or to the area specified. I just said near me, and I came up with some results. Now, prominence is gauged by how well known the business is based on information Google can find across the web. This mom and pop store had a really good website, but they also had a lot of really good reviews too. Now, the thing with the Google Business Profile, though, is that it shows across all devices. So, of course, I had the company when I was going there. I had it on my phone. I had it on my Google Maps, so I wouldn't get lost. It scales accordingly as onto your desktop computer, your smartphone, or your tablet. And again, it just shows a wealth of a range of information to help searchers, potential customers, find the information they need about your business. So then, how do we create a business profile at this point? Well, it's pretty straightforward. So what you do is your business profile allows you to manage business information, connect with customers, post updates, and more. And you start by going to google.com/business. And from here, you're going to click Manage Now, which we see up in the top right-hand corner, to create your business profile. But you could also start directly from Google Maps, and we're going to go ahead and show that now. So what's going to happen is if you don't have a Google account, you're then prompted to create one. Now, the thing with this, though, is that, and this little graphic's going along, you don't have to have a Gmail account if you create a Google profile. What that means is when you create the account, and this doesn't quite show this, but you can create the Google profile and say that you have your own email address, which may very well be your company's email address, if you have like your own domain name as part of your email, or also if, or it could just be like you have a Yahoo email address or a Gmail address, or Yahoo address, an Outlook address, a Ymail address. You don't have to create a Gmail account for the sake of this, although I would recommend that whatever email you use for your business is a professional email. It's what you're using for that purposes. That's advice I've heard. You can take it or leave it. Is that you really need two email addresses, one for your company and one for your personal stuff. That way stuff doesn't get mixed up or mixed around. Again, that's just advice I've heard online. So again, in order to use most Google products, including a business profile, you need to be signed into a Google account. And a Google account, again, you have your sign in to access connected Google products. Again, if you have a Gmail account or if your website is done through Google Workspace, you already have a Google account. So that's just one of the things to have to worry about. But again, you can set one up for free, or you can use Gmail or not use Gmail. And then you want to choose an email address again that you check regularly, because Google will communicate about the business profile via that address. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if you get a review or a question done through Google, you will get an email notice that, hey, you got a new review, or you got this, you got that. Now, don't worry about the email address though. Google does display, the phone number, and it does display, the address, but the Google Business Profile will not show whatever email address that you use for your company. Now, you could display it publicly if you had your own website, but Google will not display that email address. It's not visible to your customers unless you choose to share it with them. So don't worry about suddenly getting inundated with emails. You can choose to share the email if you want to. Now, the next step then is to find or add your business once you've started the Google Business Profile. So then what you do at that start is the first step is to type the business name as you want it to appear on Google, in which case the name of your company. It could also appear in a drop-down list. But as you begin typing, potential matches may appear, and then you scan the list and look for your business if Google has already found it. If you see your business, click on it, and you'll be immediately asked to confirm your business. Now, don't worry if you want to make changes, you can do that after you've claimed it, and we might see more of that later on in this presentation. Now, if your business name doesn't appear, you can then enter your full business name. Again, Google isn't perfect, especially if you don't have a website. Google doesn't know these things. But at that point, you can select your business category, in which case for the public library, our Google business category is library. If you can't find the perfect category, you can choose something close. And again, this is something you can change later, and you can add also additional categories as well. And then you're going to go ahead and click next, which is down here at the bottom. So the next question is going to be like trying to figure out like what is the situation with your business? And if you have a location where customers can visit, like the library, we are a place that people come to visit. You'll then be asked, we would say, yes, we do have our own business. Other examples include a show or a store, a showroom, or a restaurant. Now, if you have a service area business and see your customers face to face at the customer's location, or again, a local meeting shop, such as a coffee shop, you can choose to hide your address. And this is helpful, as I said before, because many local service area businesses do not have offices that are open to the public. You could be operating out of your own home. And I have seen examples of people's own homes showing up on Google Maps for their business, which maybe they don't want that to show up. So it's definitely something to think about if you want people coming to your own home, because you chose to have your address displayed publicly, because if people don't come to you, you go to them. A service area business can still appear on Google Maps, though. It will just highlight the service area without displaying an address or driving directions to the location. So again, you could go on Google Maps and maybe I chose, this didn't happen, but with my glasses example is, I could have said glasses repair, and maybe there's a place that goes to people's houses and stuff that does glasses repair, in which case their address would not be on Google Maps. So again, yeah, it's just a question of how your business appears. Now, the other thing to know, though, is that businesses cannot use a PO box as their business address for their business profile, because people aren't going to drive to a PO box at the post office. So with businesses without a physical address, and those who say that they're a service-based business, during the final step of the verification, they'll be asked to enter an address. Now, that address, again, to be public, it will not be public, but it does need to be an address where the business physically happens. So for home-based businesses, you are going to enter in your home address, but again, it's not going to be displayed publicly. And the reason why this matters is going to be, you're going to know in just a moment. Now, if a home-based business, if you've already done this and it's already been verified and their address appears on Google Maps, you can still update the profile to remove the address and show a service area instead. Because I've seen this where sometimes later on when I look up this business later on, their address for their home address has vanished because they caught on to that. So, but let's say that yes, you are a place where people come to you. You do have a storefront. You'll then be prompted to enter in the complete and official street address, including suite numbers, floors, building numbers, et cetera. You could be part of a strip mall, or you're part of some, like larger building or something. Now, you don't include extra details like cross streets or nearby landmarks. That's what Google Maps is for. You can click add line to include a suite or an office number. Again, PO boxes are not allowed because they're not considered accurate physical locations. And that includes rental mailboxes, the locations such as shipping stores. So again, yeah, enter in the address of where your business is. Excuse me. Now, you can also add a service area. So that means that if your business has a physical address customers can visit, and you also deliver goods and services to customers, you can add a service area too. Now, if you're a service area only business, you will see another screen that asks for your mailing address. Again, as I said before, this address will not be public on Google Search and Maps. It will only be used to complete the verification process. To add a service area, you can enter cities, for example. You can enter a postal code or other area descriptions like neighborhoods and districts. You could enter in, DuPage, or maybe that's too broad, but you could say like Carroll Stream, Wheaton, Bloomingdale, Streamwood, Bartlett, Hanover Park. It's however far you travel. Now, again, business profiles are only available for businesses that have storefronts or serve customers in a local service area. But again, that's sort of true. I mean, there's exceptions to that, but for the most part, this is true. I'm thinking like video game companies and stuff like that. Like they have their corporate address, but you don't go to them. They just serve people. But there's always exceptions to everything. But anyway, when you're done, you're going to go ahead and click next. And then at that point, you'll be interested in putting in your business contact information, where you have the option to include a phone number and a website. Again, put in a phone number where people will call you for that business. Don't put in your personal phone number if that's because this is going to be it's going to be added to your Google business profile. I'm not saying you can't edit it out later, but best to be on the safe side and put in your business phone number rather than your personal number, unless your personal number is your business number, in which case go ahead and add it. So again, when you're done with that, you're going to go and click next. Again, I don't believe either of these things are required. You can also, if you don't have your own website, that's fine. You just say, I don't have a website. There's plenty of examples of that, of companies that don't have their own website. But then again, at this point, you need to choose your verification method. So depending on that means is that Google has to verify that this is a legitimate request, that this business actually exists. You can't just go on faith or just go on because you said so, because that'll be opening yourself up to scams or schemes or fake businesses and stuff like that. I remember there was a big thing more so during COVID, about like non-existent restaurants that still somehow existed and were serving food, but they were called phantom kitchens, which was a whole thing that I don't want to go into because I don't remember all the details, but the gist of it was these were not legitimate places, that or else were just doing stuff on the side for Uber Eats, and Uber started cracking down on that. But anyway, so again, verification confirms the business location and your authorized connection to the business. Now, Google has a variety of ways to verify your business, as we can see here. Either send a code by phone call or text, email, they can even mail you a postcard, or even by reviewing a video of your location. Verification options may vary. If the first verification option doesn't work for you, you can request a different option. So we'll say, it'll give you a choice. If your business isn't open yet, as I said before, you're an entrepreneur, you can set a future opening date, in which case you can choose the verify later option later on, then set a future opening date before you verify your business. And then that prevents your business from incorrectly appearing on Google as open. So so basically, again, if your business isn't open, you say when it's gonna open and you're gonna verify it later. But again, you set a future opening date before you verify your business. That means that it does appear on Google results. And then at that point, you then verify the business, not the other way around, because then you're gonna have a business that's gonna look like it's open when it's not. And again, but if you do this though, if you do the verification request, make sure that, if you chose phone call or text, that the person needs to make sure they're available to check the number they provided for the business. The verification code expires after 30 minutes. And there's more information out there on the internet, which I won't go into. But again, also if you operate a service area business, like people don't come to you or you go to them, you may need to enter in your mailing address. But the thing though is that, going back to the home-based business part of things, where people don't come to you, you go to them, this address will not be published on Google Search and Maps, but Google will need it in order to confirm the location and your connection to the business. And again, PO boxes, post office boxes, are not eligible. Now, if you chose the verify by postcard method, what that means is it may take up to 14 days to arrive. If other people collect mail at your location, make sure that whoever is collecting the mail, ask them to be on the lookout for the postcard and deliver it to you as soon as possible because the code expires in 30 days. This is if you have multiple people working at the location. For example, here at the library, we got people who sort the mail. We were already verified, but if the person sorting the mail was not the person who made the request to verify our business and they're looking at this Google thing, they probably think it's a piece of trash or piece of junk mail, they could throw it out, and you don't want that to happen. So Google reviews information before verifying, so they're not just going to verify you right away, which could take up to 14 days. Now, while you're waiting for the verification method to happen, you can start putting in more information about your business. So what you do is when you receive the verification code, though, visit Google and at this point search for your business name, in which case for us it would be Carol Stream Public Library. And then you're going to see a bunch of options now at the top of the screen, which were not there before you started to claim this business, which we'll go over those options a little bit later. And what that means is you're going to choose the get verified option, and then you are going to enter your code. And then in the meantime, while Google is going through its own verification part of the process, you can start to update your business information. Now, those updates will not go live. Sorry, they will go live. They won't go live until the business has been verified, is what I'm trying to say. So when you can make all these updates to the business, include all this information, but it won't be posted publicly until Google has verified your business. Now, the one thing though is the one thing you don't want to edit though is the name of your business, because you should have already figured that out ahead of time. Because prior to verification, you want to, now you could edit it later after it's been verified, but if you edit your business name before you've been verified, that means that this could delay the verification process because Google is trying to verify your business under the name that you gave it originally. If you suddenly change the name, that could be a problem because it's not going to, then it might take longer for it to verify or may even reject it potentially. But regardless, it can cause a delay. So again, going back to before, 3 more ways to add your business. You can even go to Google Maps if you want to. You go to Google Maps, you can search for your business. And again, assuming you're signed into a Google account that you want to use for your business profile, you can then if you're logged, so again, you create your Google business profile account. You search for your business on Google Maps. And then what happens is when you find, if you find it, for example, maybe Google has already determined your business, you can click add your business because you search for your business address first of all. For example, you're like, well, how's my business not even there yet? What happens is you put in the address of your business, and then you can click add your business in the list of options that are down below. Or you could also click the 3-line icon, sometimes called the hamburger icon. We can see it down here at the bottom of the option number 2. You'll then click add your business. And then finally, you can right click on the map itself on your business where your little little point, I don't know what the best way is to put it, the little pin, that's a pin. You can click right, you can right click on the map and choose add your business from the menu that appears on the screen. You can even do this on a mobile device if you want to. Open the Google Maps app, search for your address or tap the map and then tap add your business to maps for free. Follow the prompts. And again, it's the same thing about verifying your business. So what that, oops, sorry. Oops, sorry. I actually went back a slide. Sorry about that. But yeah, so like I said, you can verify just straight up through Google Maps. So like, let's say your business, you're in the process of verification or you've already verified it, now you want to start managing the business information that is presented in that Google business profile. So the way you do that is, again, it helps connect you with your customers and you want it to be accurate and up to date. If you have people come to you and you're closed for like a week or so because you're on vacation, you're the only one who works there, you don't want to have Google Maps saying that your business is open. I've seen examples of this, at other businesses where it's like, especially during holidays, during a holiday, Google will say like, hours may vary because of the holiday, but it'd be a lot better just to say that you're closed. It looks better. That way customers aren't left confused. They're like, well, it's a holiday. Is your business open today? Is it not open today? I don't know. Well, you can set that up and say you're closed for the holiday. And again, you can also keep information fresh by also publishing what's called updates. And we're going to go ahead and look at some of that right now. And after this presentation is over, I can show some of this stuff using the library's Google business profile. So when you want to search for if you want to figure out like, how do I get these options again? Well, what happens is we can see there, if in the case of Detroit Voltage, they search for their business on Google, and then when you do that, and because you've already tried to claim this business, these options will now appear at the top. Again, you have to be logged into the Google Business Profile that you use to claim the business. Otherwise, nothing's going to show up. I was showing a coworker something about this the other day, and because they weren't logged in their Google Business Profile that we had, none of this showed up until we logged into that Google Business Profile. So start by searching Google for your business name, and then again, you should see a section called Edit Your Business. It's called Your Business on Google, and this is how you edit the profile. Now, the thing you'll see here at the top right, though, is a profile strength. The stronger the profile, the more, that looks a lot better than an incomplete profile, just like for any of us who've used LinkedIn, for example. LinkedIn will say, here's the strength of your profile, and the stronger the profile, the better it looks. Now, if it says complete information, what that means is it's also a reminder to you that there's information that's missing from this profile that it wants you to add. You can have missing information in your profile, but it's not recommended. But again, it's good to have all the information there. So again, you see these different icons. So we see like edit pro. Again, we'll go through all of these in a little bit, but as we can see here, starting from the left and going to the right, you can edit your profile. This is where you can edit your phone number, your address, your hours. You can also add things, for example, your social media handles, and things along those lines, or or add like a chat. What do you have a chat number? You can add that too. Read reviews is there as well. People will leave reviews for your business, whether you have a Google business profile or not, as long as Google knows your business exists. But reading reviews is very important, as we'll get to later. You can add photos to your business. Performance is not the performance of your business, it's the performance of your Google business profile. It will show you like, here's how many people have visited this profile. Here's how many people have called you. Here's how many people have done bookings with you if you use that feature. Advertise is something we're not really going to cover, but advertising is going back to Google Ads. And then edit products is there if you have products listed on your Google business profile. You can edit the services that you offer. Here at the library, we're just a library, so there's not really much to add, but you can also do bookings straight through the Google business profile if you want to. Um, Q&A is patrons can ask questions and you can answer them, or even people who don't even work for you can answer them if someone's online has their own Google profile. You can also add updates if you want to and ask for reviews. I think some of this stuff has been rearranged since this slide, but regardless, we'll see a live example of that a little bit later on. So again, you click Edit Profile to manage, again, your business name, the category, the description, the phone numbers, website and social media profiles, and more, again, like your hours or the description of your business. If you create your Google business profile, but you don't like create a description, well, then Google will come up with one for you. So that's why I recommend, if you can, create your own description or at least write one in. But again, Google will come up with one if you don't do this, because you can see this, you'll see it, the description, and you'll look at the description on the Google business profile now that you're logged in, and you're gonna wonder, wait a minute, there's no description listed here, but there is one on my little profile. How is that possible? Well, so Google auto created the information based on whatever they could find about your business. So again, to make edits, you have your cursor over the area you want to change. Again, a pencil icon will appear. I think this has changed. Well, again, I'll show you the live example later. And remember to, again, save your change. Oh no, the pencil icon is there, that's right. And then click the pencil icon to make edits, and remember to save your changes. This is not a case where once you edit it, it's automatically saved. You have to save the changes as you make them. Now, the first category, though, is your primary business category. You could what is the thing you do the most, and you could also add up to 9 more categories if you want to. Your business description should describe what you offer, or even what sets you apart from other businesses, or any details that are helpful for customers to know. It should primarily focus, though, on the business information. You're not going to say like, hey, we have a sale today, or what your prices are, or even your sales, partly because the description is listed to 750 characters and should not include URLs or HTML code, hypertext markup language. Because again, you want your description to be more of a permanent thing. It's not something you're going to be updating it every few days or something with new deals. There's a separate place to put that. If you included an opening date when you create the business profile, you can also update that here. For example, maybe you're opening sooner than you expected, or maybe you're opening later than you expected. Now, some other sections include contact. You got multiple phone numbers there. You can include a link to your website, links to your social media profiles, locations. You can include your street address and or your service area. If your business though is not open to the public, you service people, just leave the address field blank. Again, you'll add a service area instead if it didn't already pull that information. And if you have both, go ahead and put in both. And of course, most importantly, your hours. In addition to your regular business hours, you can add holiday hours or highlight special hours, like for example, happy hour at a restaurant. Now, AI is big these days. I'm not going to say it's not. We've all seen it, Chat GPT or LLMs, language learning models, so on and so forth. Or Google's got their, I think they use Gemini, I think is what their AI is called. But anyway, the business profile description helps potential customers learn more about your business. For example, the products or services that you offer makes your business unique. That said, though, it's not always easy writing copy. You may not be much of a copywriter, and that's okay because if you don't want to hire a copywriter to write up this stuff, you can write a basic description based on what you know about your business, and you could even choose the little thing there that says, clicks the button labeled save suggest description. And what's going to happen is that Google will then, use AI so if you like help writing it, again, going back to where I was before, click the button labeled suggest description to create an AI powered business description. Now, if you already wrote so basically, if you haven't written anything, Google will come up with something. Or if you already wrote something, you can use the feature to see suggestions, which you can incorporate into the profile you already wrote if you want to. Now, the thing though with this though is, you can't just rely on AI 100%. AI is still a burgeoning field. It's still being worked on. It's never going to get everything right. You have to really review what it is that they're doing. There's a famous law example where this lawyer decided to use, I think it was Chat GPT or one of those language learning models. He wanted help with his case. So he said, give me cases that can help me argue my case, like prior court cases. Well, the LLM or the Chat or the GPT came up with a bunch of fake court cases. So they went to, and the person doing it didn't research it. So they went there to the judge and said, here are the cases proving my point. None of the cases were real. They were all what's called hallucinated. And boy, did that not end well for that lawyer. But anyway, so again, ensure your business profile information is accurate. So this feature, uses this info to create the suggested description. Make sure your hours are up to date, your category is up to date, everything on there is up to date, and then the AI tool will draw from that. Now, you also want to help it get started, again, by writing a draft or inserting some details about your business, because these language learning models or even the GPTs, they mostly rely on pre-existing information in order to draft their version of what's being generated. That's a gross oversimplification, but it basically means, like, think of it like spell check. Spell check checks the work you've already done. It won't write something new for you, whereas a GPT can take information that you've either written or pull it from other sources and create something for you. It just works a lot better if you've already written something first. And then finally, you got to, as I said before, you have to review this for accuracy. This AI powered tool writes creative text that can help you save time, but you should carefully review before updating your business profile in case it came up with something which is just totally not true at all. So again, that's why I say, I'm not going to condemn AI. I think AI has its uses. But again, you've got to review it ahead of time and review it to know that it's not saying like, oh, well, your business does this because I think this is what you do. It's like, well, we don't do that. So that's when you edit that part out of your profile. Again, you can always edit it later, but it just helps to do that right off the bat so there's no confusion amongst your customers. You can also stand out with what's called attributes. We don't have this here at the library because we're a public library. We're affiliated with the Village, but you can add stuff. For example, you're an Asian-owned business, an Indigenous-owned business, a veteran-owned business, a woman-owned business. You can add these categories if you want to. You can see examples there. There's probably even more that's on this slide. You can if you want to. You don't have to, but you could. It may attract shoppers who support those communities. You can also check other attributes as well, like are you wheelchair accessible? What sort of payment do you accept payment types? installation services, and more. Options vary based on the business category. Again, we're a public library, so I think our options were kind of limited. I didn't set it up, but I have perused it. But again, the options you get are based on the business profile that you drafted already. So if you're not seeing stuff here, there may not be anything based on your business profile. Now you can also add photos and videos to your profile as well. Recommendation, you go to, again, the add photos option, and you can add a logo, a cover photo, general photos of your business. You can even do a video up to 30 seconds long. You say 30 seconds, that's not very long. Well, we live in a world of short form video. I heard even 5 seconds is sometimes 5 seconds too long, but don't quote me on that. But you can have up to a 30-second video showing your location. Photos can be JPEG or PNG. PNG is usually has better quality than a JPEG, but it may not matter. You can do a file size of 10 kilobytes minimum to 5 megabytes maximum, and the minimum resolution of the photos for the photo people out there, I'm not one of these, but at least I know how to edit this stuff, is 250 by 250 pixels. Again, videos can be up to 30 seconds long with a 75 megabyte maximum file size. Now, the minimum resolution is 720p. Again, that may not mean anything to you, but it basically means you need at least have a semi-high def, or no, I don't mean semi. 1080p is the gold standard, not including 4K, but 720p at least is nothing to sneeze at or balk at. So some tips for creating great photos, though, include, adding your storefront. We have there's a photo of our business profile at the front of the library. There's also photos of the interior as well. Maybe you're showing how a product is made, packaged, or shipped. The video or even the photos could give you a tour of your space. Actually, we're going to be totally redoing the whole front of the library, not the building part, but the whole front, like landscaping and stuff, including the sidewalk. So we're probably going to need to manually update our photo, because right now I think the photo on our profile is one that was just manually added by Google. So you can give a tour of your space. You can highlight an employee if you wanted to. I've never seen any examples of this, but I guess you could. Unboxing videos are pretty popular too, but I almost might say save that for YouTube, because again, we're talking 30 seconds here. Now, the thing though is there's something called phone stuffing, and I had not heard of this term before I started working on this, or started preparing for this presentation. Phone stuffing means is that you should not have a photo of your business that has your phone number on the photo. You've already got that because it's on the Google business profile itself. You don't need to have another photo with the phone number on it. Google doesn't take kindly to that. And that's called phone stuffing. So again, it doesn't mean it can't be in the background, take a photo, but it shouldn't be the highlight of the photo is your phone number. People already know how to look that up. And also because, also because it's like, it's a lot easier to add to your Google business profile if someone has a smartphone and they can tap call, then the phone number appears. Rather than have to look at the photo, then go to their phone app, then go to the dialing, or the phone app, the dialing app, and then type in the number, and then have to constantly go back and forth between the two. It's better, don't phone stuff. Now, the other thing though is content must follow Google's content policies and adhere to all applicable laws and regulations. Now, with the video though, I talked about YouTube just a moment ago. You cannot upload the video to YouTube and then link to the video from your Google business profile. The video has to be uploaded directly to the business profile and not to YouTube. You can do YouTube separately than the Google business profile. And the thing with YouTube though is, if you choose to use YouTube, is you already have the Google business profile, and that works on YouTube as well. So you don't need to create another YouTube account if you want to do videos. You don't have to, but you could. So moving on. So the other thing you can do is you can create posts to share timely info. And I was actually just recommending this to the relevant staff at the library, saying maybe we should do this here. So what that means is you can, a lot of information on your Google business profile is going to be stagnant. Your hours probably aren't going to change radically. Your phone number is probably not going to change radically. Your address of your business is probably not going to change radically. But it's good to keep it updated however you can to create fresh content, so that may encourage customers to want to visit your profile on a regular basis. So on a mobile device, posts can be seen on the so when you create your ad, your update, we'll go with what are the three different types of updates in just a second. But on a mobile device, posts can be seen on the updates or overview section in search and maps. Now on a computer, they appear in the section labeled from the owner on search and maps. To create a post, one of those uh, boxes that we saw previously says, add update icon. And at that point in the next slide, I'll show you this, you will see three types of posts. You can do an update, you can do an offer, or you can do an event. And I encourage some of the staff here to add events because Poplar Creek Library does this, as well as Arlington Heights. They post events to their Google business profile. It's just another way of reaching patrons. For example, in an update post, though, you can it includes adding a photo or a video, a description, because that's what we see here is the update section. You can see you can add a description, you can add a graphic, you could add a button saying like call now or a link to your website. And again, somebody would see that when they're looking at their Google Business your Google Business profile. They'll say that, hey, you need a ceiling fan installed, at Detroit Heat, call today for a free estimate. The other two options, though, also include doing, again, offers and events, and we can see examples of all three here. About, for example, here's just a general update, here's an offer. Maybe we're having like a percent off, 15% off new shirtings for anyway, that's probably a different company. Yeah, that's not good Detroit Voltage, but just an example of another business displaying an offer, in which case the 1/2 in the top right-hand corner of that photo means there's more than one photo that they're showing. Another example from City Swing is that they're having, sort of join us every month for unlimited wings and other things. And then how to purchase tickets. And we can see the little sign up option there at the bottom. Although you could also, so again, use updates to post to share announcements and highlight important details such as a new product or service. You can also include a photo or a video, a link, a call to action button, and other information. You can also use offers to advertise promotions and sales. They require a title and a start and end date and time. So you can't just have a forever offer on there. You probably may just do that as an update, but you need to have a start time and end time of your offer because maybe you're not offering off 15% of your new shirtings forever. And then a view offer, CTA button, that means click to action button, is automatically added to these posts. You can also include, that means to the offer itself. You can because you're probably linking back to your website. You can also include a photo or a video, again, a coupon code, a link, and terms and conditions with the post. This works well also for, as they say, seasonal offers. You can also use events to promote workshops, celebrations, fundraisers, etc. Again, I've seen libraries post their events on there. Now, going back to this, though, is that as far as again, uploaded media for this sort of thing, a minimum 400 by 300 pixels and a 10 kilobyte size limit. And then a maximum, that was the minimum. The maximum is 10,000 by 10,000 pixels and a 25 megabyte size limit. I just said that previously, but in the last slide or two, but I just want to repeat that. Also, it doesn't quite give you what should the size, I know it says pixels. Just know that, it scales differently depending on the device. Like on a computer, it's going to look a lot smaller, whatever the graphic is. Whereas on your mobile phone, it's going to look a lot larger because of how Google displays these things across devices. So there's no really one size fits all. Just realize, on the computer, it might look really tiny, your photo, but on a phone, again, it may look larger. So again, just something to be aware of as you're adding these photos is, maybe look at it after you add the photo, look at it across different devices and think, this is either too big or too small or too blurry or too whatever. Now, the good thing about some of these posts, though, is that, Google is always testing new ways to connect users with helpful information, including business profile posts. So one way posts can appear is a local search box called Nearby Events and Deals. Now, this feature is visible for local searches on mobile devices and displays posts promoting deals and events from nearby businesses. And again, to make the most of it, you regularly publish posts on your Google business profile. So again, it's only on mobile devices, but again, it's just something to be aware of. As you continue to post updates and stuff like that, or deals or what have you, and events, you could start to appear in more searches without having to do like pay Google Ads, which is not free. You can also create a digital menu in less than 30 seconds with Google AI. There was a video here, but it doesn't play. But there's some screenshots of it on the next screen. This is if you're a restaurant. You know, you could have AI create your menu for you, and then people can look at the menu and be like, "Wow, that's awesome." So businesses again have the option to add menu items with descriptions and prices. The items can be organized in different sections like appetizers, main courses, and desserts. Yeah, I really have to do more Google searching because I've never actually seen a restaurant ever actually do this. Although to be fair, most of the restaurants I look for are just like Rosati's or something like that. But you know, there are probably some larger restaurants that maybe do, like maybe the Olive Garden. I'm just guessing though. Um, Now, Google AI can make it easier to quickly add your menu to a business profile because all you need is either a photo of your menu or a PDF, and then it'll just pull that information from it. Again, here's some screenshots of it. You click the section labeled "Edit Menu," and then you at the top you click Photos of Menu and then select Photos. We can see this sort of in action here, and then you can click generate a menu. I know this is sort of quickly glossing over this, but I'm guessing none of us really have a restaurant who are watching this. But if you do, then I'd encourage you to look up how to do this later on your own time. And then of course it'll then like pull information from the menu through AI through what's probably also called OCR for optical character recognition. And then it'll scan the menu and then it'll create a list, and then it'll automatically create like a profile of your review your menu, and then you can edit it as you wish. Now, a few tips for that though, of course, is you need to work from a good source. That means use a high quality photo of your menu or a high quality PDF. It may not work well if the file is blurry or low contrast. Now, here's a plug of the library. We have a public scanner that does really good high quality scans. So just something to be aware of. If you don't have a scanner at your restaurant and you don't have a scanner at home, you can come here and use our scanner for free to scan your thing. I mean, it's not like 1080p, high definition, but it does a very good quality scan though. So it is very crisp. So just something to be aware of if you don't have access to a scanner, it's free to use the scanner. You can also add additional items once the menu is published. Now, again, if you're not a restaurant, though, you may have other features, in which case, again, you need to search the Google Business Profile to see what's available for your business category. Again, we're a library, we don't have a lot of options, but your business may be totally different. Now, here's the other thing, though, and this is important, and this is something to be aware of. Read and respond to customer reviews, and this is the read reviews option. If you see a little tiny dot in the top right-hand corner of read reviews, that means that there have been more reviews posted since you last looked at what the reviews were. And it allows you to connect with customers by responding to their reviews. Now, once a business is verified, you can respond to customer reviews. You have the option to publicly respond by clicking the read reviews icon. Now, here are some tips, and I've seen this done well, and I've seen this done poorly when I've read different businesses' responses to their reviews. First of all, you want to keep your responses short, sweet, polite, and professional. You don't use responses as advertisements. You can say, "Hey, thanks for coming in. Here's a deal for you." No, don't do that. You want to respond to reviews though, whether they're good or they're bad, as quickly as possible. When you get a positive review, you thank the customer. Now, if someone leaves a negative review, you try to address it constructively. I've seen good constructive reviews of bad reviews, and I've seen badly written responses to reviews. And I think if you have a very bad response, that's not constructive, that may look bad to a potential customer if this is how you respond to a negative review, if you leave a negative comment. I know having a bad review, it stinks, but you have to be professional even if you don't feel professional. You have to be professional. You can be mad about it. There's nothing wrong about that, especially whoever it is making stuff up or exaggerating what happened. That's why in your response, you're creative, constructive. Again, may not get too much into the weeds about what happened, but you could say, "Hey, just so you know, or not that, but like just respond positively, just respond again constructively." So you can say like, because the thing with business owners though is, and this reminds me of a really good piece of spam email we got in the library's main email account. Business owners often ask for advice about negative reviews, which is usually, how can I remove negative reviews? Well, Google will not remove a review unless it violates a content policy, like for example, if it's obscene or threatening or something. Instead, Google encourages business owners to respond, perhaps explain a company policy or encouraging the customer to contact you to resolve the issue. Those are the good responses I've seen, where like there was like a moving company I saw, and the person wrote and said their mattress was damaged. And the company said, please reach out to us. We want to be able to make this right to you. They didn't say, oh, well, that's too bad. That's your fault. You should have done it better. You should have done something, should have known that this would happen. No, they didn't do that. You don't want to do that. Don't antagonize your customers even if they're not, if they're already mad at you. It looks a lot better to say, please contact us. We want to make this right. Now, the customer, though, who publishes a review has the ability to modify or delete it. So if it's a negative situation, but you turn it into a positive with them, they could update. You don't tell them to update the review, but you could remind them, say, hey, if you could, or, but if they update the review, they could say, update, we were able to get this successfully resolved, and that looks good for your business. Now going back to that spam email, I didn't read the email, though I wish I had, but the headline said remove negative reviews from your Google business profile. Well, it can't be done unless it's obscene. So I think this was a scam, not really a scam email, but it was promising something that just can't be done. So, just again, something to know of. You cannot review a review unless it again violates Google's code of conduct policy. Now, again, if you do feel though that there was a review that violates Google's guidelines, like it's threatening or something, you can go to your dashboard, find the review, click the three dots next to it, and flag it as inappropriate. Google will make the final determination if the review violates Google's guidelines. Now, business owners and managers can also turn on what's called SMS. You can turn on text notifications in your profile, it seems, to be alerted as soon as you receive a new review. That doesn't mean respond to it that second. Because especially if it's a negative review, you don't want to just respond like, just look at it, think about it. While you do have to respond, while you do recommend responding right away, there's no window that says, well, if you don't respond to it within like 30 days, you can't respond to it at all. No, to my knowledge, you can respond to reviews that are ancient if you want to. You probably shouldn't because again, it's a super old review, but the more recent ones you can respond to, plus also because these reviews are in order, and let's face it, nobody's going to be scrolling through like 5 years worth of reviews. They're going to look at the most recent reviews because that's what they're more concerned about. But anyway, so again, now you can also ask for reviews if you want to. I mean, I guess, it couldn't hurt to just tell the person who, like, this happened to me one time. I was somewhere and I said, I said, is there any way I can, do you guys accept tips? And they said, well, no, we don't, but you can leave us a positive review if you want to. I never did, but it was something to think about. Because positive customer reviews, they build credibility and trust, especially if you're a new business, you don't have any reviews. What's the best way to get more? You can ask for them. You can click the button labeled ask for reviews, and this gives you an option to ask for reviews via email, social media, and a shareable link. That means that, you send out the link to them, and then again, they can then do something about it. Again, if they have a Google profile themselves. I don't believe you can leave a review without having a Google profile. So again, something to also be aware of. So again, here's a tip though for you. You copy that link. You can even include it when you're emailing a satisfied customer. Like, get a good interaction. This is your follow-up message to them saying thank you for buying our product and being pleased with it. If you'd like to, could you leave a review for our business? That again, that others can see. They don't email you and then you put it on there. You can't put a review for your own business, but you could at least encourage them to leave a review for you. Now going back to, if you believe a review is fake or violates a Google policy, you can report it by clicking the associated alert icon, which is an octagon with an exclamation point. Or there's even like a google.com/grow/report review. I mean, just do it from the reviews page. Again, you can review reviews, submit reports, and check the status of a previous report. Yeah, there's a link right there. I said google.com, but g.co does the same it's the same. It'll get you to the same place. Again, you can choose to report a review or check the status of previous reports, and again, and then it'll say like again how to report it, and then what's been your report. You also have to explain what was the policy being violated and provide details. And again, Google's team will review the report and take action as needed. And please note that Google will not remove a review because it's negative. There actually has to be a violation. Sorry, 1 second. Oh yeah, sure. Welcome, Shabani. I'm still going, but if you have to, but yes, but yeah. So keep going though. So Oh, come on. So this is an example of the dashboard of the analytics that you can see. But yeah, so you can see how people interact with your Google Business Profile. I looked at this. I looked at this for the library because I want to make an argument why we should do something, and that allowed me to again make that argument why why we should do something to better market our library on Google Business Profiles, because we saw a lot of interactions this way. In which this case, you can set like a timestamp. I don't remember how far back it goes. I don't think it goes back forever, but at least it can look like a month. Our profile, the way it was set up was, if we see it later, it was like a snapshot from January to today. But you can see here that um, again, that's all under the performance icon. Now, this feature offers insights again into how customers found you. Did they use Google Search? Did they use Maps? What's if they even use Google, it'll give you results like what did they search for in Google in order to find your business, which again can be helpful for you to know. And because that's like, again, going back to search engine optimization. But you can also see data on, how many bookings, if you use the bookings module, a request for directions, how many people use Google Maps to find you, how many people actually clicked on your website that originated from the profile, just a lot of good analytics there. Um, and then again, you can also click the three dots in your profile to access more features. For example, if you, and this is part of the wrap up, we're almost done. But again, you can click the three dot icon to access more features. You can again see like, you can look at your profile settings for your business profile. How are you being notified about your reviews? You can also add a new business profile. So what that means is that, you will, if you have multiple businesses, you don't need to create a new Google account for each business. You can instead create a new business profile for another business that you may own, again, if it's eligible. That means that, again, you just have that one central, you're the one editing it, and you just switch between the different business profiles that are available for your business. And that's why the option below it says your business profiles. So you can toggle between different businesses. Example for a library would be, and this is not the case here, but if our library, for example, had a branch, for example, that would be a separate Google business profile than our current main location, which is, of course, 616 Hiawatha Drive. Again, we don't have a branch. But if we did, again, that would be something where we would want to add a new business profile that we would then toggle back and forth between. Example of a local library near us that has a branch is Poplar Creek. Poplar Creek has a branch in Hanover Park or Streamwood. It's called the Sonia Cranshaw branch. I don't remember specifically. It's either in Hanover Park or Streamwood. But regardless, it's a separate branch and is its own profile. So again, Poplar Creek would treat that as a different branch, as a different business profile. So again, now you can also set up though is you can add managers who edit your business profile. Now these managers, what they do is, if you set them up this way, this Facebook does this too. If you have like a Facebook business account profile, you can set up managers. And what that means is the managers can access the business profile, but they do not, however, have access to the other Google products associated with your account. For example, like let's say you are using a Gmail account for your business. Well, these managers now don't have access to your Gmail account, but they can access the business profile. This is good because you probably don't want them to have access to your Gmail account. Now I do want to say though, I believe they would also potentially need their own Google login too, because this is all Google based. So I don't think you can access it without having their own Google business profile, or not their own Google business profile, their own Google profile, but then they can access your Google business profile. So again, they can still use, so that's a lot of Google. What it means is you can use their work email address as their primary contact point, for their Google profiles as well, if that's what you want. But again, and notifications, again, you could get SMS alerts for interactions with your business profile. The way we set up here is we just get emails to our main email address that'll say like, hey, you have a new review, or hey, here's something. We get a snapshot of like the monthly profile results. And again, you can also, as I said, create business profiles. If you run into issues with any of these things, that's where you want to choose help and support. You can also send feedback if you want to, and then terms of service. But again, that's just, ways of getting help if something goes awry. So what are the next steps at this point? Well, one is if you don't even have your business profile, you need to claim or complete your business profile. And then at that point, you need to then verify your profile through either phone, text, email, video, or postcard. And again, but again, though, you either have to have a business where people come to you or you go to them. If you're just like an online only business and nobody can come to your location, again, you are not eligible, in which case maybe consider making your own website. Now, again, while you're waiting for that verification, though, you can then explore your business profile and update the information. It just won't go live until the business is actually verified. The other thing I wouldn't worry about though is if you verified your business though, sometimes when you look up your business profile, you'll still see a little click icon on your profile that'll say like claim your business is what it's called. Don't worry about that. There's been different answers why sometimes even if your profile has been verified for your business and you see all the options there, sometimes your business profile will still say claim this business. No one can claim it though, because you've already claimed it. You've already verified it. It's just, we see that on the library's profile, for example. I don't know why it's there. It's not there for like Poplar Creek, or I think even my home library, Champaign Public Library, but it is for other libraries. I think Bloomingdale is that way. I think I think even Wheaton was too. Again, why is that there? There's been no conclusive answer for it. I can show you what I'm talking about maybe a little bit later when I actually show something live, because we're just about done with like the actual presentation part. But again, it's just something to know about. Just don't panic if you see that. As long as you Google your business and you see all those icons at the top, it's not really anything to be worried about. So again, once your business profile is created, again, make a habit. It's recommended that you make a habit of reviewing and updating your business profile. Schedule time in your day to regularly update it. I don't know that there's like a good rule of thumb for how often it should be updated, but update it semi-regularly. And again, update your information anytime something changes with your business. If your hours ever changed, you should like permanently change, you should change that. If you have a closing, you should change that. I think there's a limit though to how long you can be closed though. Like if you're going on, like if you're a home, like if you're the only sole proprietor of your business, like as far as the hours go, I don't think I think I read something like you can't have it closed for like a week or two, but just in which case, just leave the hours as they are, and then just maybe have your website say, hey, we're closed. And like I said, there are limits to this. And again, you add photos and videos and posts, as often as you can. And again, look at the performance reports to see again how people are interacting with you. Because again, this should not be a set it and forget it tool, although in certain places it is. But you really want to update if you can. Be creative, add photos, answering reviews, create posts. Again, the more active that you are, the better opportunity their business profile has of appearing in a Google search. We don't have to worry about that here at the library because we're only library Carol Stream, but we do have libraries around us that maybe they do update stuff. So if you say libraries near me, our library would pop up, but maybe we wouldn't be a favorite in the search results if we weren't if we aren't regularly updating it. Again, I don't think that would happen, but it could. So again, just going over some additional resources. If you like this video, Google will, they'll post videos as well on what's called their Grow with Google channel, youtube.com/growwithgoogle. they probably have this presentation there too, but probably not as well done. But I'm just joking. But anyway, so yeah, you can watch more videos there. They cover like not just business stuff, but job stuff as well. This I'm not going to go to as much because I believe this is like a paid thing, but we offer a different service. You can upskill and reskill your employees with with Grow with Google certificates. I don't believe that these are free though to do this. Just something to be aware of. This next part is definitely not free. It's called Coursera, but we offer a different competing product called Udemy, which has also self-paced courses. We used to offer LinkedIn Learning, but we had to drop it. But we offer Udemy instead, which has again videos on how to learn new skills and new tasks. And again, I'm not going to go into this, but you can examine this on your own time if you really wanted to. But again, that's just something to be aware of that's out there. And again, there's more resources for your small business on google.com/grow. And so, yeah, so that's just your resources. You don't have to share your feedback. It's fine. But what I'm going to do at this point, though, is I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. I'm actually also going to stop the recording as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm actually at this point, if you want to stick around, I will at least show you the library's Google Business Profile. I can't show you how we set it up because it's already been set up, but at least I can show some of these features for you live, and I'll try and be cognizant of our time and be done by 8:30. So I'm going to stop the recording. And with that, I say thank you for those who are attending or watching this later on.